Yo traders, welcome back to episode 3 of Traders Edge. Proudly brought to you guys by Vault Thunder, the biggest and best prop firm in South Africa. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is King Fadake. I am a full-time trader. I've been doing this going on just over 8 years at this point. And today we want to talk about the reality of trading and something a lot of guys don't tell you. These are the things you see on social media. They give you these false hopes, false perception of what trading is. And in a very short and sweet way, we always like to talk about it and call it, trading is the hardest thing you're ever gonna do to make the easiest money you ever will. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. You guys can go back and listen to that. But we want to talk about this a little bit today. I'm going to talk a little bit about psychology being one of the main things. I know some of the mentors here have spoke about technicals, fundamentals. A lot of guys have gone to journaling, and I think for myself now, something that definitely changed my trading is psychological, which we add into that. And don't worry, before you guys leave at the end of this video, I am going to give you something as a little technical tip to help you guys take on those charts and give you a bit more of an edge in the markets. So starting off, guys, as I said, going on to my experience, 7+ years, this is all with stuff I've learned and built up through real losses, real wins. It's not that fun all the time. But these are 5 trading lessons that hit hard, and honestly, what separates the amateurs from the professionals. So make sure, take notes here, dot them down for you guys. So number 1 is, I always tell to people, your strategy isn't broken. It purely just comes down to your sample size. And now, what do I mean by that? And this comes down to the idea that most traders give up on a strategy after the period of 5 to 10 trades. And this basically shows you that you're really giving yourself a much lower edge, because end of the day, a real strategy is only going to come into play 50, 100, 200 plus trades is where you're going to see that difference. So this is something people need to really focus on. Now, if you change strategies every week, hey, you're basically just gambling every week with a different outfit on. That's all you're doing. So make sure, actually build a database for that strategy. Second off, guys, your real edge is always going to come in risk management. Now, I think a lot of guys maybe have heard this and they talk about it, but we want to dive a little bit into this and what do we talk about that. Now, not every entry is going to be beautiful, and that's just the case of it. But everyone is always obsessed with the perfect entry, or as we always like to call it in South Africa, sniper entries. And that is basically the furthest thing from it. You need to understand that entries are only 20% of the game, and the rest comes down to the size of your position. It comes down to how quickly you can cut the losers and make sure you're able to hold onto those winners and move with the trend. All right, so that's where the difference is going to come up with, because the mediocre setup with a perfect risk control can outperform the perfect setup with poor discipline. Always remember that, guys. Now, thirdly, we're going to talk about your psychology will mirror your personal life. Now, what do we talk about this as traders? We always say very, very simply, how you are off the charts, the charts are going to expose that. They will always show you who you are. Now remember that. And when I'm talking about that is, we always say this, if you revenge trade, FOMO, hesitation, that doesn't come from the charts. Those are all things you have off the charts. It comes from unresolved emotions, poor routines, and personal chaos. So very simply, guys, fix your lifestyle, you'll fix your trading. Very, very good stuff there for you to take from it. Literally, I'd even say you can go to the point 60 to 70% of your problems is pure behavioral, personal behavioral issues off the charts. If you're someone that can't stick to discipline, you can't stick to a diet, you sleep in, you're lazy, you don't work out, you don't do any of these type of things, these are things that are going to show on your charts. Always remember that, okay? Now, fourthly, we're going to talk about watching your P&L will destroy you. Now, I think this could be quite a controversial one, because I think a lot of guys are going to say, Keegan, but how do you trade and not watch your P&L? Like, how do you do that? Now, I'm not saying you guys have to go sit there and put a piece of tape over your phone or on your laptop screen or whatever. But what I'm just saying is, your mind wasn't basically built to handle these emotional swings. Now, when you're watching live profits and loss, every trigger, every tick, $20 into profit or 500 Rand into profit, 500 Rand into a loss, That's a dopamine hit for your body. Now you have to understand that. So when you can pull away and take that off there, you got to understand, move yourself away from it. You're going to bring logic. The more and more you sit there, the more and more dopamine that comes into your body, the further away from logic you're going to go. So trade the setup, not the number. Let your systems do the math and check the results afterwards. Plan your trades, trade the plan. Very, very simple stuff there for you guys. Then lastly, guys, number 5, the best traders are boring. It's not this thing of they're brilliant, they're not showmen, they're not this, they're boring. And when I talk about this, guys, we always say it, the ones that are really making money, they're not glued to the charts all day. Now, yes, I can say that I'm a streamer, and I've even talked about on the stream all the time. That is probably one of the most difficult things, to sit on a chart all day and with my discipline to not take a trade. Because the biggest thing is there, we know for ourselves there's probably 1 or 2 trades for the day we want to take, and that's just the reality of it. You need to know the session you want to trade, when you want to trade, and exactly what you're looking for. Again, when you have a trading plan, very easy to follow. If it doesn't meet your plan, you don't trade it. So when it comes down to it, guys, very simply, you got to wait like snipers. They have strict rules, just like a machine. No excitement, no chaos, just boring consistency, because that is what will scale your trading. Now, all right, guys, let's get into this. So the little bit of the psychological side we have out the way. I think it's about time we can get into some of the technicals. I think we all know this is the good stuff that all you guys always come for. So let's have a look here on the charts, guys. So for myself, the tip of the day that I'm going to be giving to you guys is a little something I've spoken about quite a few times. You can see it on one of our YouTube videos we've done before. And again, this is going to go into it, the EQ. All right, so when we talk about the EQ, what is that? Where can you find it? So when you're on your charts here, you're going to go up to the top indicators. You're going to click indicators. You're going to search there for daily range. So let's just have a look there. Daily range, I've obviously started, but there, daily range by Hortensia. That is the one you're going to look for. Click for it. It will pop up. It's going to look a little bit different to this. It's going to have a lot more lines, but it'll show you the settings here. Inputs, 1 day is what we've gone for. Style, so all of these would be on for you. You're going to turn them off here, turn the 75, turn the 25, turn the daily low, turn daily high. I mean, you can leave those on if you want to. If obviously this is something you want to take note in some of your other strategies, it is actually quite useful. But purely for this educational piece today, we're going to focus on the mid-range. You can make it whatever color you want, obviously to meet with your charts. I normally like to use purple because I do have other things that I mark out in blue on my charts. But for this, we'll just leave it at blue there for you guys. Now, what does this mean? What is the previous daily range? Very, very simply, guys, the EQ works out to the idea of 50% of the previous day. So if you go take literally from the very bottom of the daily wick of the previous and go measure all the way to the high, whether that's the wick or a full bodily closure, you mark out the middle point, that would give you the EQ, and that would be this line we work off of. Now, quite simply, this is where we talk about the idea of a trade. So if we trade underneath the EQ, we're going to be looking for sells. If we trade above the EQ, we're going to be looking for buys. Now, very simply, we are on gold here on the 5 minute. Let's have a look here. So what would you guys guess if we came down here now? We obviously traded very early this morning. We bounced, we held, we were going to wait for that retest. The retest then fails, and bang, that would be the break. So what do you think that would mean? As I said, if we are trading underneath, we are going to be looking for the sell. Obviously, you can use whatever stops you want, but again, be sensible. If that's where we knew where the stop was above, you can go for that. And very simply, there already is your 1 to 1, and something you can go break even and manage it from there. Otherwise, close completely if you are happy, or even a 1 to 2, where in this case, that would have actually fallen a little bit short and you would have hit a break even. But now we trade back to it, and this is where it gets interesting. So if your lows have been swept, we speak about these in other strategies, but your lows have been swept, you trade back above, you've broken back above the EQ, you've held on support, you're re-breaking. Let's see what happens. So now you do that, we enter again, stop loss again, however tight, big you want them, just be reasonable. So in this case, we can put the stops just underneath here, because if that takes out these lows, good chance the trade is invalid and it's going to go all the way back down. Remember, we spoke about keeping those stops as small as what we can. Very simply, you guys can see again, nice 1 to 1 hit off the bat, but you could have gone break even at that point. And let's say you want to just have positive RR, so 1 to 2, and there today you would have had the 1 break even already, and there would have then been your 1 to 2. Beautiful trade. Be realistic, have your targets, have your goals. That's you done for the day. Let's go back a bit and let's have a look here what else is happening. So yesterday on gold, there's the EQ, never came into play. Let's go back another day. There we go. EQ came into play beautifully. Again, we can see this came straight into it quite aggressively, rebroke underneath, failing on that support. So then we failed on it. We're going to take the idea of a short. Again, can be a little bit more reasonable, whatever you want to do at the stops there. Again, just above those highs. And we can play the same game again, yeah guys, 1-to-1s. You can go break even, or at that point, as I say, close or go break even. And there we can see it continue to the downside. And again, there's another 1 to 2 for you. That would be you done for the day. Obviously, if you have other targets, this is just very entry level for you guys, but you can still hold that. And I mean, there already is a nice 1 to 4 for the whole day if you basically held the whole day for that trade. Let's go down again a little bit later here. What are we going to see? Traded into this area, tested, there was our level of support, not really closing quite strong, pretty much on the EQ, so you're waiting for something a little bit break in there. This one would have been a quite of an invalid trade, if you want to call that. It is quite early in the day though, so do you take that one? I guess we can argue a bit on that one, but if you did re-break this bullish move, that is your failed break of the re-attempt on the sell. Then you got your buy, and again, we can see that big move to the top. So as I say, it's still quite early, so you could have even waited a bit there. Obviously trying to just fail on that support again. So as I say, this one would have been, if we want to say, a bit more of a riskier buy. Let's even go with that. Again, a point below, there's your lows being taken out. It is also under the EQ, so a nice area that does invalidate the trade. And very, very simply, 1-to-1, break even, 1 to 2, there's your TP. And again, you could have monitored it for the highs of the day, whatever the case, and there's a 1 to 4. The same point over late in the day, going into the evening, so quite aggressive, coming down a lot of selling momentum, breaks underneath, there's your break, definitely more break, kind of confirming that it's holding underneath. There you go with it. A massive wick on the top, so you could have even gone for that top wick, or even, yeah, but you know what, we'll take the benefit of the doubt, say we took it over there just to be consistent over here. And the same thing, 1-to-1, there you go, you break even, and 1 to 2 all the way further down. Nice winning trade there again. So as I say guys, this is just something very, very simple for you guys to start trading to, looking into. There are lots of rejections where you've had the sells, big momentum getting it above it, so now you've now switched to buying. Very, very simple stuff here for you guys, just to help give you that edge in the market. I hope this has been a good one for you guys. Very, very simple. Again, psychological, there's the big difference. When your mind's right, you're approaching the markets right, you're not thinking of all these other funny things. You know what you have to do. You focus, you're locked in, you're zoned in. That's when you're going to make money, and it becomes very, very easy like this. Again, I'm not saying that it's an easy. It is, I want to say, simple. A lot of guys overcomplicate it sometimes, and that is the problem. You don't need to overcomplicate trading. Keep it simple, know what you do, and again, just follow the plan. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers, guys.